back to the Rave Social Podcast. I'm your host, Jaiden. Obviously, you guys know me by now. And today we have a really special guest, Colie. Colie James is a client experience and system strategist for photographers and creative service providers and host of the Business First Creatives podcast. She helps business owners design streamlined workflows and strategic content communication inside tools like Dubsado and HoneyBook so they can book faster, reduce bottlenecks, and deliver high-touch experiences without being constantly available. Colie has helped over 300 photographers increase conversions and stop relying on memory and post-its to keep their business running. When she's not fixing clunky processes, you can find her planning her next trip to Disney. A girl after my own heart. Welcome, Colie.
Jaiden, thank you so much. And the funny thing is, I think you're the first person that's gotten that new bio. And so that shit sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's what you do. But I know how you feel. Like, bios are so funny. We talked about this with Alexa a couple weeks ago, but we're just like, it's so funny to hear your own bio be read because you're just like, is that me? Like,
I'm like, wow, that sounds good. Like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, it's wild. But we're so happy to have you today. So why don't you just like tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
I mean, I feel like Jaiden's covered it all, but I started out as an adult, as a college professor many, many years ago. I won't tell you how many because I am very old. And then we moved to Colorado and I left the classroom. I had my kid and I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I started a photography business. I did that for a good 13 years. And now I help photographers and other creative service providers, let's be honest, save time in their business because the struggle that I see so many people do is that you had this job that you probably hated. So you went into business for yourself and now you have absolutely no free time. This business that you want to run is now running your life and you just don't know how to run it as effectively as you could.
Yeah, that's so real. It's so funny. Like, I always joke that you leave your corporate job or whatever because you're like, I'm in jail. This sucks. And then you build your own prison. It's just different.
Yes.
It's pretty, but like, it's just different. So I love what you're up to. And my question for you is, how did you make the switch from being like the photographer to the person who set up systems for photographers? Was it just because you experienced it, or what made you want to switch gears?
I mean, even though I don't like to call the system side of my baby a pandemic baby, I'm gonna do that again. Just because I don't like to refer to the system side of my business as a pandemic like side hustle, it definitely happened during the pandemic. So I go into people's houses to photograph, or at least I used to. And I also went into hospitals. And guess what you weren't allowed to do during the pandemic? You weren't allowed to go into someone's house. So here in Colorado, it was like a good 5 months before I stepped foot in someone's house. And it was over a year before I was allowed back in a hospital. And just so happened that one of my business besties had a podcast and she's like, hey, Colie, come on and like be the CRM expert. And I was like, cool. Now, up to that point, I did not have any systems offers in my business. I did help photographers set up systems as part of my business coaching. But like, I never dreamed that that was going to be where I was going to go in my business. But I went on her podcast and we literally stopped recording. And I was like, oh no, that's my next course. Dubsado for photographers. That's my next course. So over the next 6 months, I built the course. And then as I launched it in beta, I had so many friends in the photography world that were like, okay, Colie, like your course sounds good, but I don't want a course. Can you just do that for me? And I was like, yes, I can.
I can.
And so in 2021, I started building them for people and teaching the course all at the same time. And then, 5 years later, it is the only thing that I am doing in my business now. So that's how I went from like photographer, educator into system strategist.
Wow, that is such a unique story. And I feel like you're so good at it because you did it. Like you knew exactly what the experience was like. You knew how to serve your clients, all of that stuff. So it was like a natural thing for you to be able to teach other people how to do that, which honestly like kind of leads me to my next question, which is about client experience, because I feel like client experience is just like it's a buzzword now. It's like strategy. It's like, what does that mean? And like, why is it important? What even is it?
So the funny thing is, I think I would have given you a different answer last week, but I was recently listening to a podcast where it's a business coach, and she was saying what unique perspective she brought to her business. And it started making me think, like, really, at the end of the day, why am I different than any other client experience strategist? Because there are lots of them that exist. And at first, I thought that it was my internal knowledge. Like you said, I was a photographer, so I know what it takes to run a photography business. And so I use that internal knowledge to help other photographers. But what I've realized in the last week is that my unique perspective on client experience all revolves around education. Educating your clients so that both of you can have the best experience that you can. Because when I hear creatives talk about the bad experiences that they had with their clients, I'm always like, okay, but did you tell them to do that? And they're like, well, yeah, it was in the contract. Okay, no one remembers what they read in your contract 4 months ago. You have to take the role as an educator, if you will, and make sure that your clients know what to do and when to do it at every step in working with you. And if you're not doing it, that's your fault. Anything that goes wrong is your fault if you are not educating them properly. And so I just think that it's making sure that your clients know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it at any step inside of the customer journey. But for you, it means that you have to figure that out first. And then you have to effectively communicate that to your clients throughout the process, not just in one long document or email that they may or may not go back and read at different parts. You need to structure your experience to where your clients are never questioning what happens next or why they're doing something in particular.
Yeah, it's like way more about being a leader for, like, that's what I'm getting from you is that it's more about being a leader for them than like making sure they have like a cute branded email or whatever. It's like, am I answering the questions before they come up? Am I re-answering them later when they forget? Like, am I really leading them through the experience with me? I think that's so big too, because I mean, as a consumer, I love that. Like, I love when I know what the next step is before I don't want to send you an email. I just want to know what the next thing is, like I want it to be so easy for me that I don't have to think about anything. Like, I hired you to make my life easier. I want my life to be easier.
And that's what people remember. And I think that we get distracted by, making sure that our offers are profitable and where they need to be. But to me, that's a given. Like at the end of the experience, yes, you're giving your clients, most of us are handing something over. I mean, you're handing over like, social media content that is written, whether it's a plan or you're actually going in there and writing it and scheduling it and basically delivering it to their audience. For those of us that give our clients something, yes, that influences how they feel about working with you, but it is the entire process. And if they submitted a form to you, like let's say you're asking me who my audience is, all those things that you have to know before you write content. If I submit it to you and you don't confirm that you got it, you don't tell me how long I have to wait for my first plan, I don't know if you are going to let me review the first set of captions or like what the process is, that doesn't feel good. But if you tell me what happens and I know what to expect and I'm never left questioning if my investment in your services was worth it, that's what people remember. That's why they continue to pay you. And that's why they tell all their friends about you. So really, client feelings matter. And so everything that you do in your offer should be about how am I making my client feel right now about the process of working with me? And if it's not good, you need to change it.
Yeah, that's so real. Like, even I'm thinking about like a photographer that I hired to do photos for me at one point, and like after the shoot, I knew in the contract, like you're saying, like 8 to 12 weeks or whatever till you get your pictures back. But I literally didn't hear like a single thing for the whole, and it was not cheap, and I didn't hear anything till they were like delivered in my inbox. And I remember thinking like, I'm totally not going to be that annoying client that's like, hey, when am I getting these? Like, I know I'm not going to do that because I know what your contract said, but that doesn't mean like I wouldn't appreciate an update,
Yes.
even if it doesn't change the deadline, like just some sort of contact with you that's like, hey, I'm working on your photos, or like, hey, just a few more weeks, something like that.
Yes.
Like I was just like, did you forget I'm alive? I don't know. I felt so just like I didn't know what was going to happen.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that, Jaiden, because when you asked me in the beginning of this conversation, what do I think of client experience as, it is making sure that you don't have those huge communication gaps. Like people come to me and they're like, Colie, I need better workflows. I need my HoneyBook automations to work like they're supposed to. Well, that's great. But did you plan what you wanted them to do first? And second, did you make sure that you never feel like you are ghosting your clients in the middle of working with you, which is basically what that photographer did to you. And so if you sit down and you basically write down every touch point that you want to do with your clients, and then you look at the gaps between the touch points, you don't want somebody to not hear from you for 2 to 3 full months until you're delivering something. So the thing that I talk about a lot is how can we educate, how can we nurture your clients between the session happening and when you're going to deliver, so that they don't feel like they are just sitting there just anxiously waiting for the next email. And there's so many things that you can do between doing the actual service and then delivering the goods. I mean, and this is not just photographers, this is everybody. You could be telling them how to use their photos. You could be explaining to them once they get the gallery, how do they download them? Some things that they might want to pay attention to, why one photo might work better on an Instagram carousel versus a header on your website. This is knowledge that you have that your client doesn't. And those are things that you should be communicating to them before they get the photo gallery, because once they get the gallery, they don't care about anything that you say. You gave them photos. I mean, I recently had a brand session, Jaiden. She gave it to me at 8:00 p.m. on a Friday. And by 1 a.m., my entire website was redone with all the photos.
Yeah.
And then I tweaked a bit for a couple more days. But like if Ashley had sent me any more text messages, emails, I wouldn't have paid attention to her. I am already picking out my favorites, swapping my photos. And the next morning I sent her screenshots and she was like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. But like if she was waiting 2 or 3 days to tell me anything about how to use the photos, I mean, it's too late. I already went and did it all, right? So the education can happen while your clients are actively waiting for whatever it is that you're going to deliver, because they're really paying attention. Like you said, you're like, oh, my photos are going to be here like any day. I guarantee you any email that photographer sent you, you would have paid attention because you would have thought it was the gallery.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, I was just thinking about all the opportunities to like add value in that period of time. And I honestly have never like thought of it that way before, but that's 100% true. Like I would have, I mean, I was watching for her little name to pop up in there, you know, like a hawk. So that makes so much sense. I also feel like this is a nice segue into my next question for you about backends, because I think, like you were saying, people come to you and they're like, I want my automations to work. I want my Dubsado set up. I want my HoneyBook set up, whatever. Like, and I think it's natural to want to start building your systems and ops because you don't want to be like the only one who knows everything, or you don't want to be the one that has to send all the emails. That makes sense. But how do those go hand in hand? Like, how does your back end go hand in hand with your client's experience?
So when it comes to using a piece of software like Dubsado and HoneyBook, and really there are many others, but those are my favorites for visual artists, your CRM does 3 things. It centralizes all of the things related to a client project. It organizes them in a way that you can hop in at any point in time and figure out what's been done, what's currently active, and what still needs to happen. And then comes the automation. And what a lot of people don't understand is the automation is like the icing on the cake. But really, when you are early in your business or when you are feeling overwhelmed doing everything manually, the centralization and the organization will actually get you back a lot of like your sanity. Like it will relieve a lot of stress. And so I never judge someone's business by how much they're automating, but I do totally judge you if I can't pop into your CRM and figure out where any particular client is in the process. Now, there are some of my clients that when we build workflows, we literally slap an approval button on everything. And it's okay. Because if you are not ready to like turn everything over to automation, I have no problem with that. But I don't want you going to 5 different apps trying to figure out if you sent a client an email, if they paid your invoice in PayPal, if they scheduled, the discovery call or the planning call in Acuity. Like that is nonsense in 2026. So I like to see a back end that is organized where you know what every single one of your clients should do, and you can tell what's happened and what hasn't happened. Automation comes after that, but that is like the foundation of a good back end.
Yeah, more like the structure of the plan, like what's happening at each point in the process of working with you. Oh my gosh, that just makes me think I've been working on my systems and ops and backend and all of the different things. And it's so funny how many things you just mentally remember and rely on that. And then you can like forget that you're the one. Like I even have a whole backend setup, but sometimes I'm like, oh, and then I added on this, or then I did this or that. And it's like things I'm mentally remembering. And then once I wrote them out, like every step of the process, I was like, oh my God, there's so many of these steps that like I didn't even tell my OBM because I just was remembering it. Like I don't even know. It didn't seem like a big deal to me. But then once it got automated, I was like, wow, I'm so glad I don't have to remember that anymore. It's like, it's tricky how much you normalize just remembering.
Well, and the plan is necessary if you ever intend to outsource any part of client management or, anything related to the client projects. Because like you said, we are so close to our business and so close to our offers. We often do things by default that we don't remember. But then what happens is if you're having a bad mental health week, if your kids have a lot of, sports activities that week, if your husband, your partner is out of town and you are solo parenting, like any of these things that basically distract you from your business, if you're the only person that knows what needs to happen and you're the only person taking care of them, if you don't have like the mental capacity to put everything into your business, things will get dropped. And so sitting down and like designing the client experience that you want everybody to have and basically making a list is good for you, but it's also good for future you if you ever look to outsource to a virtual assistant, to an OBM, so that they know what needs to happen and they don't have to constantly come to you to ask you for like those micro steps that you haven't been doing. I mean, because there's nothing worse than someone getting a bad experience simply because you forgot to do something where if it was on a list or if it was inside a workflow or an automation inside your CRM, you would know if it happened or if it didn't happen. But if all you're doing is writing shit on random Post-its or thinking of everything in your mind, that is when you drop balls for your clients.
Yeah. So huge. And like, no one can ever step in for you, which I just think is like, that's a lot to carry.
It is a lot to carry.
Because you just never know when something could happen.
I mean, you can't take a vacation. You and I were talking about Disney before. Yeah. I mean, I have been doing a lot of content. I have no idea when this episode is going out, but I've been doing a lot of content around being ready to be out of office for summer. It doesn't matter if you are a parent or if you want to go on a longer, vacation with your partner, or if you just need a mental break. It is super important for you to have a business with systems that allows you to take a break, because none of us were built to run these businesses 24/7, 365 days a year. All of us need breaks. And so like designing your client experience and then mapping out your workflows and then automating what can actually be automated and feels good to you is how you get to a point where you have a business that does not require you to be present each and every day.
Yeah. So major. I feel like that's part of like being a bottleneck in the business, which we've kind of gone over a little bit, but I'm just curious what bottlenecks you usually see. Like, what are common ones? It could be for photographers or anyone's. And like, yeah, what are the common ones?
Yeah, you are the bottleneck. But I'm gonna tell you the phrase that almost every single person comes to me with, and I'm like, I'll prove you wrong, I promise. People tell me that their process is just too custom to be automated. And I'm like, No, that's just not true. I'm like, I have worked with hundreds of people in all kinds of areas, content strategists, SEO people, like none of you have processes that are as custom as you think. And guess what? Even if there is something that you legitimately have to put your hands on, you have to make a little note, you have to change it. I bet you I can still templatize 80% of that email to where you are just adding in 20% that's customized and going about it. I'm going to give you a wedding photographer example because, this is really like in my mind because I'm literally working with someone in systems and session with this right now. Wedding photographers don't want to automate because they say, oh, but Colie, sometimes someone hires me 3 months before the wedding and sometimes they hire me 14 months before the wedding. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's 2 different workflows. But you can totally streamline that for like people who are getting married quickly and people who are getting married way in the future. You can still figure out what steps each of those clients need, and you can just have 2 versions. But don't think that you have to do everything custom in your business. That is like the biggest bottleneck that I see. People don't want to do workflows because they think that their offer is too custom or that there's this one thing that differs, which means nothing can be customized. And I'm just like, nope, that's crap. Let's work together and I'll prove it to you.
I love that. Yeah, that's 100% accurate. And I do feel like everyone thinks they're the exception or like you think you're unique or the different one, but like you're not. And like people, the funniest part is like people have been doing this for so long. Yeah, maybe your business is newer or what you do is newer, but people have been being service providers for ever since the beginning of time. So it's not that unique, and
you're not that special. You are not a unicorn. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. Also, I do think that all of us offer something unique to our clients, and I am all for bottling up whatever that is that makes you a unique person to write people's content strategy, to actually write the Instagram captions, all of that. But what you're doing, you should be doing with each and every client. And listen, if what you're telling me is, well, if they're in this offer, I do this. And if they're in this offer, I do this. That's great. That means that each one of them needs a different client experience, but it doesn't mean that it can't be mapped. It doesn't mean that it can't be automated to make your life easier and give them a consistent experience.
Yeah. And like, I think maybe what kind of freaks people out or confuses them is like, because it's automated doesn't mean you're not involved.
Yes.
If you're the photographer, like you're still you can't automate getting the pictures taken, I can't automate writing your content, but it's all the things around it that are automated so that my capacity only has to be spent on writing the content, not on did I send the email? Did I follow up? Did I get what I need from the client? All of that stuff like is happening on its own so that I can do what I do or you can do what you do. Take the pictures, edit them, deliver them.
Jaiden, I love that you said that because one of the things that I think more people don't do that everybody should be doing is that automated follow-up. Once you've written like the questionnaire that they need to fill out so that you know about them, their business, and their audience, if they don't do it within 3 days, there is no reason that you should be chasing them manually to do it. Every CRM on the planet makes it to where you can pretty much automate that email that's like, hey, remember I dropped this in your inbox 3 days ago? I really need you to fill this out so that we can progress to like the next step in the journey. And also, when someone does what you told them to do, please automate saying thank you. When you send me my client intake form and I tell you all about my business and all about my clients, I want you to send me an email thanking me for doing it and also telling me what comes next. That can automatically happen in certainly Dubsado and HoneyBook, but again, like almost any CRM on the planet. Those kinds of automated follow-ups should be happening in every single person's business because you sitting there worrying about whether or not someone did something means that you have to go to your computer, you have to go inside their project, you have to look to see if they did the thing. If they didn't, you have to write an email, you have to link it again. Are you getting exhausted listening to me say that? I am.
Yeah. And it's funny. I honestly, like I said, I've had systems and the automations and everything. And recently, honestly, this year, I had a client between their intake form coming to me and their kickoff call, send me an email and be like, hey, what's happening next? And I was like, oh my God, like that would make me feel insane if I didn't know what was happening between. Because in my point of view, it's like we have your kickoff calls already scheduled. You submitted the form. Like, yeah, there might be 2 weeks between there, but like we'll see you on the kickoff call, you know? And I just used her email, my response to it. I literally had my OBM create into an automated response because I was like, if I'm being asked this question even one time, that means other people have had the question. Embarrassing. And also I realized like I wouldn't want to not know what was going on. And so like I had that email going that's like, here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to work on your strategy. Here's a B-roll checklist. You can start getting content ready if you want, like all those things. And like even just having that scheduled made me feel better because I was like, oh wow, there's probably been so many clients that have been like, I guess we'll talk on the kickoff call. Like, you know, like they didn't have what they needed, that support.
For every client that asks you a question, I guarantee you there have been 4 that had the question and just didn't ask. And so, you know, and sometimes clients ask questions and it's specific to them. And I get that, you know, and they might ask you a question and you might be like, okay, but I sent you an email about that 3 days ago. Yeah, but now that they've asked the question, I want you to go back and reread the email that you think addressed it to make sure that it actually addressed it. Because again, sometimes we think that we are disseminating information to our clients and it is not as straightforward as we think it is. So anytime a client takes the opportunity to give you feedback on your process or ask you a question about where they are, what happens next, I need you to take that and make a change in your process to make sure that you have doubled down on giving them that information or telling them what comes next or whatever it is. Because, you know, at the end of the day, we don't want our clients to ever feel like they had to hound us for something. We want them to feel taken care of because that's how we get them to come back. And that's how we get them to share the experience with their friends in a good way and not a bad.
And what we were just talking about, this is a side note, but like if you do get one-off questions or specific questions, it's not as overwhelming in your inbox because everything else is handled, if that makes sense. It's like, yeah, of course there's still going to be questions. Of course, like one-off things, you're never going to be like, not have that at all. It's impossible. But then you're not overwhelmed by your 200 emails in your inbox because you don't have 200 anymore because you don't have that many questions. Now you only have 5 questions. Like it scales how easy it is to respond because you're not overwhelmed. Okay. Next question for you is if someone's trying to decide between Dubsado or HoneyBook, because those are the big 2 we talk about a lot, how do you have them choose which one they want?
So Jaiden, I have been really deep diving into my SEO in the last week, and I literally just wrote one that said Dubsado versus HoneyBook. It's not as important as you think. So my thoughts on this have evolved over the last few years, and you are a HoneyBook user, and I no longer hate HoneyBook. So let's just put that out there immediately. There are actually some like stark differences. And in this new blog post that I wrote, I basically said, if you are really concerned with design, I think Dubsado is for you. If you have a team, HoneyBook is a better bet. Now, in this, I'm going to have you share the blog post in the show notes. But like I have a table that I literally spent hours creating. It is going through payment differences, form differences, trigger differences, like all of these things. But at the end of the day, the difference between Dubsado and HoneyBook is so minute. I literally don't care which one you choose. Pick one. Make sure that when you open it, you don't hate it, because if you feel overwhelmed by your CRM, you are never going to fully use it. So like now I ask some questions like, do you have a team? How are you scheduling your sessions? Like there are some pretty specific things that I want to know to make the best recommendation. But at the end of the day, when we're comparing Dubsado and HoneyBook, I just literally want you to do a trial of each. And if one feels better to you, just check in with like a certified specialist or a HoneyBook Pro, if you will, to make sure that the one that you're choosing will work for how you run your business. But at the end of the day, they are both good with design. They are both good with automations, and they both have like a decent amount of integrations with like the other applications and software that you're probably using in your business. I mean, the features are so close to being similar now. It's almost a toss of a coin. Like pick one, love it, and actually use it.
Yeah. Yeah. One time I thought about like changing CRMs, and then the thought of that made me
want to cry,
want to die. So I was
listen,
like, nah.
I do have a blog post, and literally it's switching from HoneyBook to Dubsado, because I wrote it when the price wars were happening. Like, when HoneyBook raised its prices and everybody lost their minds. And people were very surprised that my response was, I don't care if HoneyBook raised your prices. You should not immediately be jumping to Dubsado. You should be thinking about the cost of switching. You should be making sure that the features that you have are not something that you need another one. I mean, it's a bigger conversation, but one thing shouldn't be having you jump from a CRM to another, because it's time intensive and it's expensive to switch your CRM.
Like the thought, all my clients are retainer clients. I was like,
oh my gosh, you'd have to stop all of their invoices and redo them. No, ma'am, you're HoneyBook for life, whether you like it or not.
We're in a relationship. Like, this is never ending. But I honestly like HoneyBook. It's just one of those things. I didn't even know Dubsado existed when I started using HoneyBook, and now we're deep. We're in the trenches
There's
together.
There's no divorce here.
No, we're stuck. But that's really good to know that there's not any major differences. And like, who's to say Dubsado won't raise their prices at some point? Like,
no, they already did. Now they're even again, which again is why if you left HoneyBook. Now I will say though, Dubsado did one thing different than HoneyBook. HoneyBook raised the prices on everyone, which literally had me I was so shocked. But when Dubsado raised their prices, they didn't raise it on any of the like you were locked into whatever your rate was. But like right now, if you are looking between the two, there is almost no difference in price. So pick the one you like.
Yeah, because you don't really have control over what they do with their pricing.
Yes.
Okay, what is something you wish more creatives knew before they hired you? Like, do they need to know certain things? Or?
So the funny thing is, I think that there's this misconception, and I'm not going to just look at myself. I'm going to look at you, Jaiden. I'm going to look at any other service providers. I feel like business owners think that they have to have something particular figured out before they hire a professional. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, for sure. Like little made up, like I have to be here, do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like some people think to themselves, oh, I don't have my offer fully figured out, or I don't know what I want my workflows to do, so I'm not ready to hire Colie. And I'm like, y'all, that's my job. Like, I don't understand. All you need to bring me is your business, and you need to be able to communicate to me how you work and what you like. And we will build systems around it. But like, even choosing a CRM, I get a lot of people that are like, oh, but I don't know if I want Dubsado or HoneyBook yet. Okay, hire me and we'll figure it out before we build it. Like, I will have a call with you. I will present the options. We will look at the interfaces. We will make sure that you make a good decision. And guess what? If we start building your systems and a week in, you're like, I don't like this. I've actually had people switch CRMs because, again, the tool is not the main thing that I'm giving you. Yes, your Dubsado or your HoneyBook is going to work like magic when we're done. But at the end of the day, I spend way more time helping you make sure that your offers make sense, that the systems that we are building make sense to you. The tool is just how we get there. But like all of the strategy that we do before we get there is not something that you have to have figured out. It's literally why I do this as my job. It's what brings me joy. And so please come hire me and let me do that for you. Like, oh my gosh.
Yes. Hire Colie. Duh. I'm dying. Okay. On that note, what is a system you've built for yourself that you're obsessed with?
Okay. So I'm actually going to, because I know the questions that you were going to get to, I'm going to tie it into this. I am absolutely obsessed with my systems for interviewing my clients.
Oh.
Like, I get that when I talk about case studies, and it's really weird, I've gone on a couple podcasts recently where we didn't really pick a topic before I showed up on the call. And they've said some things. And two people have been obsessed with my case studies page and how I talk about interviewing my clients. And I'm like, guys, it's just a system. And I think the biggest misconception that people have about me is, oh, but Colie, you have a podcast. That's why you're so good interviewing your clients and getting all this data. And I'm like, y'all, I did client interviews for at least a solid 2 years before I had a podcast. I have always valued asking my clients a bunch of questions so that I could make the process and the experience better. And so, after someone's done in systems and session, I think about where they are in their journey and whether or not they are prepared now to have an interview with me, or if I want to wait 90 more days until they've had time to play with the systems. But I have a whole thing. I invite you to my podcast. I interview you. We take that, we turn it into a case study. I'm looking at, everything that you ever submitted to me while we were working together. And now I house it all in Notion. I did it in Airtable before, but guess what? If you're not a Notion girly and you're not an Airtable girly, I will take a Google Drive folder. I will take a Google Doc. But at the end of the day, talking to your clients is so helpful to make sure that you are giving the best client experience that you can, that you're looking for ways to improve, and that you are communicating that to your wider audience. Every single person who has joined Systems in Session listens to my podcast. The last 12 people have all said, I listened to an episode on your podcast and decided to buy. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing case studies. Thanks.
You're I figured it out. This is my system.
Yes.
No, I love that so much. And I think that's a part of systems that people don't have. And honestly, guilty as charged. I had a week testimonial form situation that I would send out. But this year I really started getting a strategic feedback form out there.
I love the word.
Yeah, one that really answers the questions that my potential clients are asking, and the ones that help my client give me the transformation that they have had, their experience with that. Because when you're just did you enjoy working with me? It's that's too broad. They're just going to be yeah, but
Jaiden's awesome.
Yeah, that's not helpful for future clients. They don't care.
I want to add one more thing in, because you and I are very unique. I help people build their systems, and then mostly they walk away. I mean, I do have a retainer offer, but that's not my main bread and butter, if you will. But you have retainer clients. So what I see most, often with people like you is that you ask them for feedback and then you never do it again. So if the listening audience is like Jaiden and you have a retainer offer, what I want you to think about your feedback as is strategic touch points throughout working with you. So in other words, right after you make the first deliverable, you should be asking for feedback. 60 days in, you should be asking for feedback. After they've done a major campaign, a major launch, you should be asking them for feedback. Because what people tell you at each of those stages is going to be different, and it's a different piece of the puzzle for the entire experience working with you. And you never know what questions your audience is going to have. And so if you are collecting that feedback at those strategic touch points, if you will be able to answer that question on your sales page or in your sales calls more effectively. And then people will really get a sense of what it's like to work with you for a year versus just asking you to do a 90-day plan.
Yeah, that's so real. And I feel sometimes it is trickier when you are doing retainers, because it's you can just get into the motion easier, and where it doesn't have a clear wrap up date, it's it just can sometimes fall through the cracks. So yeah. We have a few more minutes, and there's two things I want to ask you. One is about systems that sell. Just tell us a little bit about that. And then I would love for you to give our listeners one thing that they could start with this week to implement and help get them some systems.
So as I said at the beginning of this call, I used to be a college professor, and I feel all of the content that I put out was do this. Here's step A, here's step B, here's step C. But what I found is that a lot of people need me to tell them why systems are important. We all have a lot of client work, and sometimes we think to ourselves, I really can't spare a couple hours now away from client work to do my systems. So Systems That Sell is a private podcast. It has 4 very short episodes, but in them, I am trying to help you get in the mindset of how systems will pay you back tenfold going forward in your business. And so I really do want each one of you to be motivated to do work on your systems going forward. And actually, I'm going to bring it back around to like when you ask me what misconception people have, I think people think that when you work on your systems, you have to do it all at once. And I no longer believe that. Like there are so many microsystems that you can attack, like a microsystem for getting people rebooked, a microsystem for collecting case studies, a microsystem for improving your booking process. Those can actually be done without attacking your entire like client experience as a whole. And so if you're one of those people that's questioning whether or not working on your systems will benefit you like right now, today, or in the next week, go ahead and listen to the private podcast because it will change your mind on why systems are the thing that you should do now instead of next month, next quarter, next year. Now, bringing it back around to the one thing that I want people to do, the truth is each of you are in a different stage of business. And so I want you to tackle the one thing that you feel is going to relieve stress or bring you money. So if you are someone who is sitting on a lot of leads that you got in the last quarter, in the last 6 months, and you never followed up with them, I want you to write 1 or 2 emails to follow up with the people that are in your CRM that didn't book you. I want you to write 1 or 2 emails to follow up with your clients from last year that have not come back. Those are ways to get you more revenue. Relieving your stress. If you are someone who spends hours creating a custom proposal for people who don't actually book you, I want you to take 2 hours now, build a better proposal, a better smart file, so that going forward for the rest of 2026, you can book clients in 5 minutes without the stress. So those are my 2 options for you. I mean, I have many more, but those are the 2 that I feel people really feel in their soul will like make them feel better and fall back in love with their business.
100% agree. The leads one is, I was like, light bulb, I need to be doing that. But the custom proposals will ruin your life. Like,
absolutely,
that is just a nightmare. And like, you put way too much emotion and time and everything for someone to not sign is like, we do not need to be doing that. We do not need to.
That's that whole, oh, my things are too custom. Everybody needs a custom proposal. Guess what? If you spend 2 hours now and you design, because hello, we're in HoneyBook or Dubsado where design is key. If you design it now, guys, it takes 5 minutes to swap the package or to increase or decrease the price. It takes 5 minutes to swap the photos from like a family of one, a family with 1 kid to a family with 4 kids. Like it takes no time at all for you to customize a proposal template that you already spent hours creating. And then if you get a call and you take 5 minutes to customize it and you send it out and they don't book you, you don't feel like you wasted all of your time and effort to get somebody, to book that doesn't actually book. I mean, I can't tell you, like, from my clients in Systems in Session, the proposal is the thing that they rave about. I'm like, all of the other things you didn't even care about, but like this proposal that you send and all of a sudden people are paying you in 5 minutes. I mean, I get it. It's money in your pocket. All of the client experience is important, but like that proposal template, I am telling you.
It's so satisfying when like you send it out and then it's like contract signed, invoice paid, boom, like done. You didn't have to do anything and you didn't spend an hour on it. Like, that is such a win. Like you win either way. You win if they don't book you because you didn't spend that much time on it. And you win really quickly if they do book you because you have it set up to do that. I just cannot imagine my life without a smart file.
I mean, and then the one little thing that people don't realize that you can do in Dubsado or HoneyBook is add videos. So if you are someone that feels like you have to explain your process and you don't want to get on a discovery call, you can make a 2-minute video and just stick it in the smart file. And they can watch it before they scroll down your smart file and start booking your services. I mean, there's just so many things that make Dubsado proposals or HoneyBook smart files just absolutely amazing. And that's just one of them.
Wow, I'm totally adding that into my content co-pilot workflow, like just a little video. I love that so much. Okay, my last question for you is, what is one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self? Business, life, whatever.
Man, that it's okay to change your mind. And I mean, I don't feel like I really have to lecture my younger self. I'm one of those people that when I make a decision, I just go for it. But in my 20s, if you had told me that I would be an entrepreneur and I would own a business, the way that I would have laughed at you after being in a college classroom for 10 years is like, I don't know. And like life didn't exactly go the way that I thought it would. I mean, I only have one kid. I live in a state that I never thought I would live in. I mean, Colorado's gorgeous, don't get me wrong. But like, it's okay for the plan not to be the plan. That is what I would tell my younger self with like my full chest. Because, you know, on the other side of it, life really is good. But there is almost no aspect of my current life that I imagined I would have at 20, 25, even 30.
Wow. I love that so much. That was so good. So spot on. Amazing. Thank you so much, Colie. We loved having you on. We're going to tag Colie's Instagram, her blog post on HoneyBook vs. Dubsado, her systems that sell, all of that in the show notes. So head down there and obviously book Colie. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Jaiden.
Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye.